there. It's so nice to see everyone again virtually. And you're on Music and Chat with Shueh-li, and it's a good evening from me to you in Nashville, Tennessee. Please say hi in the live chat over there and let us know where you're tuning in from. Don't be backward and coming forward. Looks like our dear friend Gary from Frederick, Maryland, has jumped the gun once again. Hi, Gary. Anyone else out there who wants to say hello in the live chat? I know you're there. I can actually see the count, or as I say, the virtual bodies that are bopping about out there in the live stream. But you're too shy to say hello. It's kind of lonely. One is a lonely number out here. So come join the party. Let us know where you're from and your name. That's so funny, Gary. Yes, Frederick, Maryland. Hi, Ed again. Ed Egan from Ottawa, Canada. Am I saying Ottawa correctly? Yes, I'm English educated, just in case you're wondering. Anyway, anyone else out there who want to say hello, please do so in the live chat. Anyway, speaking of people I know, thanks to those of you who have bought my Triangle EDM set and my collector's set. If you haven't already, here's how you can get them. Yes, I do all the graphics too. Thanks, Ed. I knew I got it right. So if you're interested in my Triangle EDM set or my collector set, you know what to do. It's 7:03 or 04 p.m. Central Time. I have a conflict between my laptop and my iPad. They want to differ by a minute. I don't know why. They just can't get along. It looks like it's 9:04 a.m. in Singapore on Sunday. It's 12 noon in Australia, on the eastern side at least. So let's get on with the stream. Like I always do, I play you something special, and today I'm going to play you the extended version of a working title Da Capo, which is from my fourth album, a working title special edition. And I'm going to use my EPro. I've turned on my Theremin cam. That's my EPro. And the reason is because I've had to send my ether wave to a spa retreat in Asheville, North Carolina. It's worked very hard for me, and it deserved a little TLC. Maybe some mud treatments and I don't know what else you Theremins do at spa retreats, but I wish it well because I want it home again soon. The ether wave and the EPro were adjusted by Bob Moog for me because, as you know, I play the volume antenna inverted. So I've got stories behind what happened with the EPro when it fell. But anyway, the EPro and the ether wave both have very different voices. The ether wave is a little bit more rambunctious, I say. It's a little grungy. It's very ready to kind of shout. So whereas the EPro is very gentle, very almost docile. It has a very soft. It's very soft spoken. And it refuses to raise its voice, and I have to remember that when I play it. But also because its personality is so different, it responds very differently with the same technique. It's just like having two good friends, and you say one thing, they both respond slightly differently. That's the way Theremins are. Get with the program already. I want to say hello to Mix, Michael Spicer, who was on last week's live stream. Hi, Mix, where's your coffee? Which I always ask. Okay, so let me play this for you. A working title. Sorry, a working title, Da Capo. So that was a working title, Da Capo. The extended version, I extended it so that I could kind of improv a bit on the themes and the motifs and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, let me see. All right, you guys, there are at least 10 more virtual bodies out there, at least virtually. I know that you don't appear if you're not logged into your channel per se. So I know there are plenty more out there. Come say hello. Thanks, Gary. I love that piece too. Thanks, Ed. It's been a long time since I played the EPro, so it's been a merry trip for me. I've been quite pleased to be reacquainted with it. So, speaking of being reacquainted, I've been going through my, old stuff that I've had and trying to discard old things that I don't think I need anymore. And I discover, as you know, a postcard from Moogfest 07. And in that same year, in December 2007, my band Xenovibes released a cover of Good Vibrations. And after hearing this string of Good Vibrations, coincidences from Chris Stack, who was MoogMusic's marketing manager then, our band Xenovites decided to give 10% of all sales to the Moog Foundation. Let me show you this announcement. And it reads, these were the coincidences that Chris Stack told me. The day the Mini Moog was named Top Synth by Sonic State was also Bob's birthday. And the same night, the final episode of Lost revealed the secret password to be Good Vibrations. And Good Vibrations is also the epitaph on Bob's tombstone. Do you believe in coincidences, everyone? What about you, Alan Smith? Hi, Alan Smith from Ithaca, New York. Anyone believe in coincidences? Let me know in the live chat. So with that, let's bring in Michelle Moog-Koussa for more tales of her father and her pursuits in preserving his legacy. So I'm going to get her on Skype. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Shueh-li.
Hey, you. So I'm just going to quickly center you here so I can see you and the treasures behind you. Wow. Look at that, everyone. Say hi to Michelle.
Hi, everybody.
They're willing clappers, there's a lot. So, Michelle, thanks for joining us. Your father, I'm going to get straight to the questions.
Oh, okay.
So your father is considered the innovator of the first commercial American synthesizer, amongst other things. When did you realize that he was quite different from everyone else's dads?
Well, as far as being the inventor of the synthesizer, I don't think I realized it until I was about in kindergarten. And my mom decided to sit us down in front of TV, which we rarely watched because Dad was going to be on a show called To Tell the Truth. And it was watching that show that I realized that my dad was something very different to the rest of the world than he was to our family.
You know, since you brought that up, sorry, go on. Did you have any more to add?
Yeah, that was kind of the beginning of the dawning for me.
Cool. And as you know, I have a little clip from that little TV game show you just mentioned. So I'm going to play it for everyone. I'm just going to play segments from it. For those who have not seen this and are not aware of what I'm talking about or what Michelle is talking about, here it is. It's called Tell the Truth.
Name, please.
My name is Robert Moog.
Number 2.
My name is Robert Moog.
Number 3.
My name is Robert Moog.
Friends, we have with us three gentlemen, all of them claiming to be Robert Moog, creator of the Moog synthesizer, an electronic musical instrument. And we'll start the questioning with the panelists whose voice, I doubt, could be reproduced by any kind of machine. Miss Peggy Cass.
Thank you. Number three, do you know the real name of P.D. Bach?
No, I don't.
Does P.D. Bach use your synthesizer?
I don't know.
Thank you. Number one, have any modern composers used your Moog synthesizer in composing modern works that, for instance, would be conducted by Mr. Boulez?
It hasn't been done to my knowledge. I know there are composers such as John Cage who do it, but I think you'll find him under the toadstool.
Under the toadstool?
He grows mushrooms.
Oh, yeah, right, you're right. Number two, which of the Beatles ever did, when was your machine used for the instrument, used for the Beatles?
The Beatles used my synthesizer for Abbey Road. That was
because you're very solid, and I'm sure you're musical. But number two, looks like that. Well, you know, he's absolutely a product of genetics, of a piano player and an engineer. So I voted for him.
All righty, we got one genetic vote for number two, Alan.
Well,
Luck.
you were so persuasive. If I hadn't already voted for two, I would have. But I think he just had more authority. He had Theremin. He knew about Theremin, and he said my synthesizer.
I thought it was a vitamin.
I got a pair of two showing, and Kitty.
I think we're wrong. Number one is smiling very happily. I also voted for number two.
No, we're not wrong.
So we have a large trend shaping up. William Cullen, are you going to throw your lot in with the bunch, or are you going to be a rugged individualist? What? Two. Everybody seems to know a Robert Moog when he sees one. The votes are in. Will the real Robert Moog please stand up, sir? There it is.
So, Michelle and everyone, whenever I see your dad stand up in a little, with a little bounce, I start smiling and chuckling.
Yes, it makes me laugh too.
And it also makes me laugh when the host goes, everyone seems to know what a Robert Moog looks like.
Little did they know.
It's quite hilarious. I want to say hello to Ed Egan. He's watching. He said, hello, Michelle. Good to see you again.
Hi, Ed.
Michelle, your dad kept his work like a clandestine affair. Did you ever wonder what fantastical things took place in his workshop?
I'm not sure he kept it quite that quiet, but he did keep it quite separate from the family. I think he really wanted just a place where he could be dad. And oftentimes he would have a little workshop in our family home. So I would go down there just to say goodnight usually, or to go get him for a meal when I was a little kid. So I did get to see some of what he was doing and hear some of what he was doing, but not for very long. It was usually a very fleeting moment. It was kind of understood that you didn't bother Dad while he was working. So I would stand at the threshold of the door of the workshops and listen to what he was doing before I knocked, trying to figure out what was going on in there.
All right.
It wasn't until decades later that I began to understand.
So he didn't give you an opportunity to play with his toys, so to speak?
No. The only time that I can remember him doing that was he got a Fairlight very early on because he was helping to represent them.
Yeah.
And he let us play around with that a little bit, which was fun. And then he had one of the Kurzweil instruments in our Massachusetts home when he was working for Kurzweil.
Mm-hmm.
But he just kind of put it in the living room and said, you guys should play with this. And I think my brother and I were just way too intimidated.
That's funny.
But that was about it.
Well, I have a picture of the lovely couple here, your dad and your mom. I love this picture. It's the black and white picture of your parents on some stairs.
Oh, that is the year they got married. Yes.
What was your mom like? Tell us about her.
She was a very outgoing, warm, loving, very intelligent and creative woman. She was, very strongly opinionated, much like my dad. But she was great. She was, opposite from my dad in a lot of ways, which was probably what attracted them originally. But they definitely shared a lot of, life philosophies.
Right.
And she was, at that time, she was fresh out of college, Queens College, and she was going to be a teacher in a 2-room schoolhouse located about a mile from where they were sitting.
Wow. Do you know what impact or contribution she had on her husband's work, your father's work? Did she influence his direction? Did he look to her for her opinions?
So she wasn't technical, and she was not an engineer or a scientist like he was. So she didn't advise him on that part of his work, but I think she would try to advise him on the business part, which was the part that he may not have been the strongest in. And she also, she did a lot of bookkeeping for him. She did a lot of advising on how to handle personnel issues. And of course, she did a lot of cooking for his musician customers as they would come through the shop in the very early days. We're talking about kind of 1965 to 1970. She did a lot of cooking for them. She was a really wonderful, accomplished cook.
Well, thanks for her Moog's musical eatery that you gave me the last time. I want to try a few of the recipes with my mom.
Yes, that is a staple in our household.
There's some very interesting ones. Everyone out there, if you're a keen chef, you should get a copy. I think it's available from the foundation website.
Yes, from our online store.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, your dad started kind of his business in a way with his Theremin kits, didn't he? I've got a picture of a publication by Electronics World from 1961 where you can see his hobby kit.
Yeah, that was actually several years after he founded the company. That's his first That's the Melodia, his first transistorized theremin. He actually founded the company in 1954 by writing an article for radio and television news, and his business kind of took off from there. But then, many years later, actually after he and my mother were married and they were pregnant with their first child, my older sister Laura. He wrote this article actually to help kind of fund the baby because my mom wasn't going to be able to work after she had the baby, and they weren't really bringing in much income other than that because my dad was pursuing his Ph.D. in engineering physics. So he was building theremins on the side, but it was very much a kind of a side venture at that point while he studied. And so he decided to write this article, and lo and behold, they got 1,000 orders for those theremin kits.
Wow.
Which was a lot, and they sold for $49.95 each. And as my dad used to say, that was a great cachet of wealth for graduate students. But my dad being my dad, he wound up taking that money and turning it right around into putting it into the business. So,
wow,
it was a good thing that that Theremin did so well because it basically funded his synthesizer business.
Well, there you go. And his last project was the EPro, am I right? The Etherwave Pro that was released in 2004, the one that I was playing. I don't know.
Yes, it's one of the yes. I mean, I know he also did a tiny bit of work on the Little Phatty, But as far as seeing an instrument through to fruition, yes, it was the Etherwave Pro, which is quite fitting because, as you and probably everyone in your audience knows, he had a really lifelong love affair with the Theremin, and he built more models of Theremins than he did synthesizers.
There was somewhere I read where you mentioned how he regarded Leon Theremin as a virtual mentor. Am I right?
Yes, he writes about that in the foreword of the Theremin biography, Albert Glinsky's biography of Leon Theremin. And he names Leon Theremin as his virtual mentor. And I know that even when he was a teenager and just beginning to build Theremins, he studied Theremin's circuitry designs and was, enchanted and mesmerized, not only with the instrument itself for the same reasons that we all are, but because of the elegance in the circuitry design and the expressivity of the instrument.
Wonderful. Are you still in contact with many of his significant contributors of ideas?
Yes, yeah, I'm in touch with some of them. I'm very fortunate to have forged a relationship with some of these people when I was a kid, but also since the foundation was founded. So I correspond with Wendy Carlos a bit, with David Borden. I see Jim Scott every once in a while. I see and talk to Herb Deutsch quite a bit. I correspond with Tom Ray. And of course, there are many others who I had relationships with who unfortunately have passed on at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you bring up a really good point, and that is that my dad's career was full of people who inspired him and drove his work forward.
Speaking of inspiration, I know that Bob's personality has inspired a lot of people. He's got this, you feel like you can be one of his pals, He's so relaxed and charming in his Bob Moog way. And I want to show a little clip from an interview he had at Red Bull Academy as well that displays this charm I've been talking about. So I'm going to do that now.
The first time we showed at a trade show, speaking of a trade show, it was at the Music Merchants Convention in Chicago in 1971. And I can remember, being at that show, and the music retailers would come by, and they'd look at it with, this long face, like that. And they'd look at it and they'd say, "What's that?" So it's a synthesizer. What's it do? Well, then you show up all this knob, and this knob here, and this knob, he went through a little. And then, usually they said something like that: "You expect me to sell that in my store? You expect musicians to understand that?" And they walk away.
I really feel watching that again as well that he could really be someone's good buddy. He's got such a humble aura about his whole being, Despite being such a genius, he's got this very laid back, just ordinary guy. I'm just an ordinary guy.
Yes, he was very centered, and I think he was actually quite disciplined about not thinking of himself as better than anyone else.
What's the one thing most people misunderstand about your father?
That he was rich. They think he was rich. That may be one thing. That they think that he invented the synthesizer and everything was smooth sailing and an amazing life of the rich and famous after that. which was not the case. He had a life full of ups and downs, just like all of us, lots of challenges and lots of rewarding things too. Those are probably the big things.
It's interesting, isn't it? People assume, and I don't know where this comes from. Someone in the audience might have an idea, but if they think you're in the entertainment industry, or you're an inventor and people see you often, or you mingle with people who might be popular, that you must be rolling in a lot of cash or something. I don't know what it is.
You know, I remember when I was a teenager, there was this show called The Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Oh,
And I
I
think
remember
people
that.
think think of those two terms together because of that.
Ah.
And sometimes they go they go together sometimes, but not always. And there are many people who are well known who may not be particularly wealthy.
Or they were wealthy at one point and they lost it all. I know people in that category, unfortunately.
Yes.
Sad. Oh, also, tell us about the Bob Moog Memorial Foundation and its goals.
Well, the Bob Moog Foundation was created in 2006, formally launched in 2006, which was a year after my dad's passing. It was created by family and friends and colleagues. It is wholly distinct from MoogMusic, the manufacturing company. We're a completely separate entity. And we basically created the foundation not because we necessarily thought it was something that Dad would want, because as you can see, he was very humble. I am not sure he ever thought of something like this being created in his name, but we created it more for the thousands of people who wrote to us and told us how much Bob Moog had inspired and sometimes even transformed their lives through his musical instruments, through the music made from those instruments, from his engineering and design philosophies. We were so taken aback by the outpouring that we received after his passing that we thought something really needed to be done to carry that legacy forward. So the Bob Moog Foundation was created to continue to inspire people through the intersection of science, music, and technology. And so that is what the Bob Moog Foundation does. And we do that through three main ways. The first one is through Dr. Bob Sound School, which is our hallmark educational program where we teach little kids about the science of sound through music and technology. And we do that through a 10-week curriculum that we bring into over 100 classrooms here in Western North Carolina. We serve about 3,000 kids a year, and we've taught over 15,000 children since the existence of the program, and that is something that we are looking to expand either this year, if possible, with all the challenges that I'm sure this year will bring, or next year. And we also have a huge archive of material that we steward, we preserve, protect, and share with museums and researchers, and through our own work, through the Bob Moog Foundation archives. And then, of course, we have those two projects, our educational project and our historic preservation project, coming together into our new Moogseum, where I am sitting right now, which opened in May of 2019.
Wonderful. Did you have an idea where to begin when the consideration of the foundation came about? Or did you have people around you who were willing to help you and guide you or support you?
It was a process. Because my dad kept his work so much to himself, my family and I were a little bit new to navigating his path. And when we first, it took us about a month to kind of take a breath after he passed away and get back together and figure out what we wanted to do with this organization. And, it was a core of family members. And one family member wanted the Bob Moog Foundation to be about brain tumor research because he passed away of a brain tumor. And another family member wanted it to be about social and racial justice because Dad was a big believer in those kinds of things. And while both of those are very, very important, I think someone else wanted it to be about the importance of organic gardening. Again, something else that was very important, a value that Dad held very close all of his life. But I was the one who kind of chimed in and said, all of those are really worthy. But if we're going to make the most out of Dad's legacy, it seems to me it should focus on electronic music. And that was the first big decision that had to be made, if you can believe it. Yes. So, and from there, there was some refining that had to be done. We thought we were going to be naming chairs at universities and providing scholarships, and we quickly realized that doing that kind of thing takes an enormous amount of funding. We started with nothing, really, almost no money at all. So it was really a grassroots effort. So we learned along the way, but it wasn't too long before we focused in on wanting to get kids before they were completely immersed in their phones, and teach them about the fundamentals of sound, so that when they got to their phones and their iPads and hopefully later their synthesizers, that they would have a deeper understanding of the medium that they were interacting with. And the archival work kind of came on its own. We kind of discovered Dad's archives in his workshop in the country, and we wound up doing a ton of rescue work just to get them out of a moldy, pest-infested environment. And that project created itself. And because of, again, the nature of those two projects, the education and the archive preservation just go together. 2008, and it was just a matter of finding the right space for it, and also finding the funding to make it happen.
Sorry, Michelle, there was a poor connection for a few seconds, so all we saw was a still frame of you. So I don't know if you want to repeat the last two sentences, if you could. I'm sorry, or give us a summary of the last two sentences.
I was just talking about the museum being a beautiful convergence of the other two projects.
Thank you. So I did get a screenshot of what's online regarding Dr. Bob's Sound School. And of course I have a few questions about it. Yeah, I like to think that I'm a good teacher. I've taught for many years, different ages, from 3 years old to young adults, and I do enjoy teaching a lot. And it's certainly difficult to try and inspire young people to jump on the technology bandwagon if they don't see that it's fun and games. So what kind of curriculum do you have in that 10-week thing for the second grade students? Or could you give us like an idea, maybe a summary of an activity or a topic?
Sure. I mean, we have to remember these are second graders, so they're 7 years old. So a lot of people ask me, do you bring synthesizers in? Like we're going to plop a Voyager down in front of 7-year-olds, which of course could be done, but it's not practical in a second grade elementary school setting. You have to also approach things that are accessible to the teachers as well. So what we do is we teach the kids about how sound is made, how it travels, and how it's heard. And probably one of the most exciting lessons, I mean, they're all very interactive. We make sure that they are multisensory, so kids are touching, hearing, and seeing sound in every single lesson to really help them get engaged and to understand at a deeper level. But for example, we provide Theremins to the schools. We teach the teachers how to hook them up to oscilloscopes, and we teach the kids about pitch and volume through the theremin and the oscilloscope. And of course, they love that. And there are a bunch of little 7-year-olds, and now 8, 9, and 10, and 11, and 12, because we've been doing it for so long, that can look at a waveform and tell you if it's a loud sound or a soft sound, if it's a high-pitched sound or a low-pitched sound, because they learned that in Dr. Bob's Sound School with the theremin.
I know all about that. The theremin, at least. So I understand that the curriculum was developed by 2 exceptional experts in electronic music. Am I right? Professor Mike Ruiz. Is that how you say his name?
That's
not accurate?
He may have done a little advising right at the beginning, but the Dr. Bob Sound School was actually created by a team of music technologists, musicians, and science educators. There were 6 people on that team.
Oh, very nice. I don't know where I got this information from, but the other person was Dave Hamilton, whom I know.
He actually participaed just a little bit way before it was actually Dr. Bob Sound School. We were just kind of going into schools, and so he helped us out a little bit at the beginning, but things took kind of a very serious educational turn after that, and we wound up bringing in a team of experienced teachers.
Very nice. So how can schools participate? If they're interested in this curriculum, do they contact the foundation?
Well, right now we're serving schools in Western North Carolina, and what we're doing is we are creating a custom educational device that we need to manufacture before we can scale the program. Okay. So if there are teachers out there who are interested, we are interested in getting out into other school districts all over the country. We will not be serving just one classroom. It will have to be entire districts. But if they will just sign up for our e-newsletter, or they can always write us at info@moogfoundation.org and inquire, and we'll let them know where we are in the process. But hopefully, in about a year from now, we should be serving at least twice as many classrooms as we are now.
Very nice. So speaking of archives, I have a clip of Herb Deutsch, our good friend, proudly showing off the first complete working Moog modular. Let me play that for everybody. 1 second, please.
The basic controls on the very, very first instrument was this box and one keyboard. Bob realized that both keyboards were necessary because one of the keyboards was immediately designed to operate the envelope controls. He designed this upper keyboard with a switch at each individual key, and any key that you press down would tell what note was played, but at the same time, it would turn on a control going to the amplifier. Bob didn't invent voltage control, and he said, oh, voltage control is there in automobile factories. Parts of cars are assembled along an assembly line, and sections of the work is being done automatically, and that's controlled by voltages. When he built this instrument, he had already realized that to do what it wanted to do, it would have to be monophonic, because he wanted all of this stuff to work on every note. The cars are assembled along an assembly line.
So, I believe, Michelle, you're seated next to that prototype in the Moogseum. We can't wait to see a little bit of a little glimpse of what's at the Moogseum. Those of you who haven't been yet.
Yes, so I am actually sitting in one of our exhibits. I'm sitting in the Bob's Workbench exhibit so that I could talk to you with the prototype behind me. We do have the prototype here on loan from the Henry Ford Museum. Herb donated it to them in 1982, so they've had it for a long time. But they were gracious enough to loan it to us for the past year and a half, actually. And it's leaving here in about a month on February 16th to go back. So we've really loved having it here. And Herb was actually here. He unveiled it in August of 2019, which was incredibly special. But it is definitely one of the highlights of the Moogseum right now.
And tell us what else you have around you, please.
Well, let's see. I'll try to turn the camera a little bit so everyone can see. I just have to do so carefully because
okay.
Oops. Let's see. So I am sitting in the workbench here, and what you're seeing is our timeline of synthesis, which is right across the aisle from me, which traces 34 different developments over a 100-year period, starting with the teleharmonium and ending with the Haken continuum. So I'm really glad Ed's here.
Yes, Ed.
Yeah, and so you can see there are all these beautiful photos on the wall, but we also have these gorgeous touchscreen interfaces developed by Mal Meehan, for those of you who know him, where people can delve into over 500 pieces of archival material, schematics, audio, video, photos, history, just about anything that you want to know about any one of the instruments on the walls can be explored through those touch screens. And then a little bit further down over my shoulder over there, you can see that's our hands-on synthesis exhibit. Sorry, it's just a little awkward here because I am kind of squozen into the Bob's Workbench exhibit. The hands-on synthesis is one of the exhibits that's very near and dear to my heart because growing up as a kid, I certainly did not understand synthesis at all. I've learned a lot about it in the 15 years that I've been doing this job. And it's really fun to watch people explore, but it walks people of all knowledge levels through all of the essential parameters of synthesis so that they kind of understand the science behind synthesis, the mechanics behind synthesis. Mm-hmm. So those are the two exhibits that are closest to me right now. There are 6 or 8 other exhibits in the Moogseum. There's the Bob Moog timeline. There's a big focus on Leon Theremin, of course, and on the Theremin itself. There's an interactive Theremin exhibit. There's an immersive dome that teaches people how electricity turns into sound when it's traveling through a circuit board. And we have a couple of synthesizers here for people to play in addition to the workbench. There's a vintage modular here, so there's a lot to see.
Sounds fun. I used to love visiting the science centers when I was a kid. For that reason, all these interactive exhibits. Do you have a favorite exhibit? Your personal favorite? If you didn't have to worry about, who or consider what the person you're talking to prefers, your preference.
It's really hard to choose just one. I'm very close to all of them. Mm-hmm. I think because they all together tell a story. Mm-hmm. And this is not just the story of Bob Moog and his trajectory as you and your audience may have noticed. I mean, we were very clear this timeline of synthesis takes up maybe 25% of the wall space in the Moogseum. So we were very dedicated to making sure people understood, yes, this is Bob Moog's work that they learn about first, but then we put it in context, highlighting all the people who came before him and all the people who came after him. And So I really cherish all of the exhibits for the story that they tell as a whole.
Gotcha. So everyone out there, please put your questions in the live chat as we head towards the end of our lovely time with Michelle. I just got a few more questions for her because I'm curious and I'm sure you are too. So please plant your questions in the live chat. You know it takes about a minute and a half for it to get to us, so get moving right now, please. So I have a picky of your father's, or at least the reworking of his workbench in the Moogseum. And my question, of course, is what kind of reference, or did you have references to work with when you had to put this workbench together?
We did. We had photos of his workbench, and August Shueh-li, who was one of the main engineers who worked with him at Big Briar, and then MoogMusic. He worked very closely with Dad on the Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
He actually was crucial in helping put this exhibit together. We worked very, very closely with him. Yes.
I can imagine me sitting there soldering, as the Americans say. I'm from Australia, so I say soldering. And whenever I say I'm soldering, my American friends laugh at me. But I can imagine myself soldering or soldering right there. So in terms of what people think were the facts, the actual facts of Bob's life and history, is it true? And I have asked you this before, but for those who are curious, is it true that he did not call his first modular system a synthesizer? And what did he call it?
He did not call the first system. Well, first of all, he lovingly referred to this as the Abominatron.
Gotcha.
Not knowing what magnificent path it would pave, but they referred to their early instruments as portable electronic music composition systems.
That's a mouthful.
It was a mouthful, but that's how things are at the very beginning, right? Right. Before it's then refined. Well, let's see, three years later to the synthesizer.
Wonderful. Ed has a question.
Oh, good. As long as it's not technical, we're good.
It's not technical. Don't worry, I won't give you any technical questions. I have a filter there somewhere. Get it?
Yes.
So Ed's question is, can you talk about Bob's feelings, feeling that he could feel the circuits? All right, I'll repeat that. Sorry, the comment disappeared for a second. Can you talk about Bob's feeling that he could feel the circuits? I'm paraphrasing, but he felt part of the circuitry, as I understand.
Yeah, that's a great question and so fitting coming from you, Ed. I know what you're talking about. There's a part in the Moog movie, the Moog documentary, which came out in 2004, where he says, I can feel what's going on in the circuit. He said, it's not like, you put it under your arm and he puts the circuit board under his arm. He said, he has a very special connection to the electrons pulsing through that circuit board. And what's fascinating to me is, that's, of course, he was in his late 60s when that was recorded. But his cousin, Ray, who is now in his 80s, was 6 years younger than my father. He's the only person alive right now who was ever with my dad in the workshop when my dad was 15 and first started building Theremins. He said the same thing to Ray when he was 15. Ray can remember my dad saying, Ray, I can feel what's going on in the circuits. And the only thing that I can tell you is he never talked to me about that, just because we never really talked about work, which is something of course, I really regret now. But even as a little girl, I could tell that my dad kind of had a connection with the universe that was different from anyone else I knew. And I could tell in the moments when we were quiet together. It was just something that I could feel. He felt different. Being with him felt different than being with anybody else. And I just think he had a very special depth to him. And part of it was something you hit on before, is there was also this humility, this kind of childlike innocence or playfulness. All of that is because he kept himself open. And because whether consciously or subconsciously, he knew how important it was for him to be open to, among other things, what he would call the network of ideas. And that is where he would talk about where in that same documentary, in the Moog documentary, the interviewer asks him, where do you get your ideas? Which is a fair question, right? But Dad answers by saying, kind of clears his throat in his Bob Moog way and says, well, it would be egotistical of me to say my ideas were my own. I believe there's a network of ideas, and he goes like this, a network of ideas, and the ideas come through me. Sometimes, they come through me when I'm at my workbench, but sometimes I can't figure something out, and I'm working in the garden, or I'm eating a hamburger, and all of a sudden the idea is there, and I can't say that it came from me, but it came through me. So if you recognize that consciously, then either consciously or subconsciously, to leave yourself open to receive those ideas. And I think it's through that openness that he really felt that he had a energetic, spiritual connection to the electrons moving through those circuit boards. And he felt like that the musicians who played his instruments could feel that his instruments had a memory of him. So there's a lot of more philosophical, spiritual energy that goes into his instruments than people may realize.
Well, that's pretty heavy duty, or pretty profound, as I would normally say. And when something profound hits me, I have to pause for a long time. I'm only speaking because I have to, but otherwise I'd rather bow my head and just take a deep breath. But it's interesting with the idea of creativity, or the gathering of ideas, that one really needs to put aside one's ego. And I find myself, and all of you know me well, so I'm with friends. I'm not ashamed to say. I've had to tell myself on many occasions, it does not matter how it looks. It's it's the process of you finding the ideas, cultivating it, see where it goes, and it's okay for people to tell you they don't like it. Because you learn. And so your ideas, the culmination of your ideas, are really the gathering of other people's in good intentions. And they're usually good intentions. No one's out there to hurt you deliberately. So let's see if there are any more questions. Of course, our good friend Mike Flavin, who's from Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. I'm trying to remember where all my friends live. He says, around the time I was switched on back, my great teacher had some little synthesizer kits for us to learn how they worked. A modular system for 5th graders. Wow, lucky you.
That is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested to know what that was. Well, that was, 1968. Late 1968, 1969. So
how old are you, Mike Flavin? Yeah, let us know. Was it a Moog system? Is that what you're implying? You don't actually say so. You just mentioned that it was around the time of switched on back. 68. Yeah, that's right. You're right. Let us know. Of course, I want to say hello to our good friend as well, Martin Brossman, who is here. Great interview. He says, hi, Martin. So, Michelle, as we do head towards the end, were there any are there anecdotes circulating that may be inaccurate? Because I'm going back to the fact that a lot of people think that Bob called his first system a synthesizer. Was there, or are there any other anecdotes out there that need clarification that you can
Oh,
think of?
there are probably a lot. You know, what I have found in this work is that history is a very tricky thing, and especially as someone who tries very hard to get it right and convey. And that's, I think that's difficult for almost everyone who's involved. You know, we like to be careful. People like to credit Bob with the creation of the Mini Moog, but of course, you know from your interview with Jim Scott and Herb Deutsch that there were a team of people working on the Mini Moog. You know, Dad was heavily involved, and he did help create some of the very defining parts of the Mini Moog, of course. So that is something that we try to gently dispel. You know, also on the other end of the serious spectrum, you know, some people think the name is pronounced Moog, but it's Moog. So that's something I'm always working on. At least Bob Moog pronounced his last name Moog. You know, there are all kinds of misperceptions. Someone asked me in an interview yesterday if my dad studied the harp as a kid. I was like, where in the world did you get that?
Oh, I mentioned your mother. I thought she studied piano.
No, my father studied piano.
Yeah.
But this person thought he studied the harp. Where he got that, I had no idea. And then he told me it's on Wikipedia.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know who put that on Wikipedia, but it's completely wrong. You know, some people have said they heard that Bob went selling Theremins door to door when he was a kid. That is completely untrue. He did take out magazine ads for his company, and you know, but there was no going door to door selling Theremins. Anyone who thinks 15-year-old or 19-year-old Bob Moog went door to door selling Theremins did not know 19-year-old Bob Moog, who was a pretty shy guy. The last thing he was going to be doing was going door to door.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so.
So our friend Greg Mashasini, I can't say the name properly, the last name. Is it Mashsini? Oh. Michelle, do you know how to pronounce Greg's last name?
I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, although he's wonderful. Greg is a huge champion for the Bob Moog Foundation, for MoogMusic, for the entire Moog legacy. He's absolutely wonderful.
Yes, I'm aware of that, and I'm familiar with Greg. I make every effort to try and find out how to pronounce everyone's name, see? So, Greg, please let us know. Ed, of course, had something to say. Once this pandemic is over, I encourage everyone to visit the Moogseum in Asheville. Time well spent in a wonderful town. Yes, I agree with you. I do have a picky of the front of the Moogseum that I want to show. Here we go. Moogseum storefront.
Yes, and if I can just say that we will actually be doing a special listening party of what we call the Abominatron tapes, which is the 84-minute tape that Bob sent to Herb Deutsch prior to sending the prototype, where he walks through every single parameter, introducing Herb to this brand new instrument. Audio engineer who actually transferred that tape from analog to digital is going to be leading that listening party on February 14th. We haven't announced it yet, but we're announcing it on Monday. Okay. So if people want to learn a little bit more about the Moogseum and learn more about the prototype and hear that tape, that they can do that then. And people should know that if by chance you are coming through Asheville, the Moogseum is open. We only allow 8 people in our gallery at a time, so everyone's socially distanced, masked, and all the sanitation measures in place.
And I do have a link to where to get tickets to visit the Moogseum. It's moogseum.org, and you can see it on the screen right now. I'm displaying it. And just have a few last questions for Michelle. you're bringing the kids together and cultivating their appreciation for the physics of sound and its application. Has this endeavor also inspired you?
Well, it has. It's inspired me to, not only to try and grow the program beyond our local area, because it is really powerful. I mean, my favorite moments in this job, people probably think it's when, I get to meet Stevie Wonder and Herbie Hancock, which are, of course, amazing times, or when I get to meet Ed Egan.
Of course.
Those are also amazing times. But my favorite moments are when I'm with those kids when they're in the middle of doing activities with Dr. Bob Sound School, and they get these light bulb expressions on their faces where something has just connected for them. And so what it inspires me to do is really to continue this work, not just to inspire 7-year-olds, but to inspire people of all ages through the science of sound. And it's not only getting people, when people come through the Moogseum, for instance, or when we do other interactive experiences, it's not just getting people excited about sound, but that's part of it. But it's using sound, which is such a powerful vehicle because we connect to it so viscerally, but using sound as a vehicle for discovery, for creative thinking, for pushing boundaries and thinking outside the box. Those are the things that really excite me and I am inspired to do much more of.
So I hear you've been taking piano lessons, not recently, but you at least did take some. Do you think you'll continue that journey, and do you think playing that instrument does inspire you somewhat in the discovery of more about sound?
I did take piano lessons briefly, and I will be honest and say, running the foundation is a lot of work, and I usually work, 50, 60, or 70 hours a week, depending on the time of the year, whatever's going on. So I did not have time to practice, and I would not call myself someone who's naturally talented. I really loved it. Yeah. I loved connecting with the piano, and I do want to go back to it. I was hoping that either last year or this year would be the year that I did that, but things are challenging enough right now that the foundation really has to have my entire focus. But I really do want to get back into, just playing music. I did play and study the violin for 6 years when I was a teenager. So I have some of that background from 30 or 40 years ago. Gosh, almost 40 years ago now. So yes, I'm looking forward to trying to reconnect with music in a meaningful way sometime soon.
Wonderful. So everyone, last chance for a question. I also want to say hi to Neil Merrick Blackwood. Michelle, I don't know if you know Neil. Do you know Neil?
I recognize the name, yes.
Hi, Neil. Neil's been on my live stream as well, so it's good to see him. Our good friend Mike Flavin said, and Mike Flavin's a prog rock fan. He said, Michelle...
Right.
Yeah, Michelle brought a Theremin to Neofest. It was an interesting experience to play it.
Yes, we try and bring Theremins wherever we go. Just for that reason. It's fun to let people play them.
There you go. So your last chance for a question, and while you think of one, if you have one, here's my last question for Michelle, and it's about the documentary Electronic Voyager. Could you tell us a little about it and how it's related to the foundation or any other pursuit?
Yes, so the Bob Moog Foundation kind of joined forces with Wave Shaper Media. Some of you may recognize that they are the production team who brought you I Dream of Wires. And we spent years filming, going all over the world, actually, and all over the country, filming really powerful, beautiful segments, basically tracing Dad's footsteps and talking to people who were there during these very creative periods in his life. So the movie kind of centers around me discovering my father's path through these people who were there. And the producers at this point have a 2-hour rough cut and a 4-hour rough cut, but they are taking a pause as they try to gather additional funding to get clearance for the music licensing and other funding that they need. But I want to assure anyone who is out there who helped with either one of the campaigns for it that it is coming, that I do think it's going to be really powerful. I mean, we just got an incredible amount of footage, and Robert Fontinato, who is the director and the videographer, has done a beautiful job, and of course Jason who's the producer, and they've really worked so hard on this documentary. I am really anxious to see it hit the marketplace, so that people can travel the same path with me, my dad's footsteps. But they do not have a date for when that will happen. Of course, everything has been slowed because of the pandemic, and that documentary is no exception. But they do put out little updates every once in a while, and they are actively working on it. I would just ask for patience, and I think that it will be worth the wait.
Where can you find the updates? On the Indiegogo site? Or is there a specific site?
I think it's the Indiegogo site, yes.
Okay.
They usually send out messages there.
Okay.
And they also have a Facebook page that you can go to, and they update there occasionally as well.
Okay, there you go, everyone. So I don't see any more questions, but I see our good friend Tom Briston. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Tom.
Better late than never, I always say. So no more questions, folks. It's quite late for Michelle where she is. It's 9:12 or 9:13, and she's all alone at the Moogseum. What are the Moogseum hours, by the way?
We're open every day except for Sunday and Tuesday from 11 to 5.
11 to 5, there you go. So I don't want to keep Michelle any longer because it's after hours, and we appreciate you being there to give us a little glimpse of the Moogseum and to humor us with our answers to our questions. Our viewers seem to be very knowledgeable about Bob Moog, and great fans of Bob Moog, and great fans of your efforts by the looks of it. So you know where to contribute to the foundation and to support Michelle. And we do want to say thank you, Michelle. And you're awesome. I've got an animated awesome gift just below your little chinny chin chin. So thanks again, Michelle. You're the best. And take care. I hope I'll see you soon. We wish you all bountiful success in your future endeavors with the foundation. And take care. Stay safe and stay in touch.
Well, thank you, Shueh-li. It's been wonderful to be with you and your audience. And I would just remind people we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. These are really tough times. And so if you are so inspired, please consider supporting the foundation, whether it's a donation, the Shueh-li just mentioned, or if you buy merchandise through our online store, that is also a huge help. If you go to our website, there is a blog. If you just put in cool ways to help the Bob Moog Foundation, a blog will pop up, and there's a whole list of wonderful ways that you can support us, some that don't cost you anything. So just keep us in mind when you are giving to your favorite nonprofits.
There you go. Thanks, Michelle. Again, bountiful success to you.
Thank you, and thanks everybody for joining.
Take care. Stay safe again. Bye.
Bye.
So there you go, everyone. It was so great to have you guys here with me. I guess I don't need to say hello anymore. I can remove my animated GIF. I did not see many questions coming from y'all. But I'm sure you know all that's taking place already because you're all Moog fans, aren't you? Yes, thank you, Michelle. Anyway, also I want to thank you all. Oh, look at you guys, all your thanks. And I want to throw the heart comment from Neil first. Thanks, Neil. I'm sure Michelle appreciates the little heart. Greg as well. Thanks, Michelle. Gary, yay. And Ed Egan, thank you both. Lovely. Mike Flavin, thanks for everything, Michelle. And yeah, Greg, yes. You know where to find the video when the live stream is all done. I also want to thank you for supporting me in the form of recommendations to my live stream, my channel, or you can also, I have my own, whoops, wrong one, where, my own method. If you want to tip me, I have a Venmo site or a PayPal me method where you can tip me if you wish to. You can also purchase my Triangle EDM set, which is a download from Bandcamp, or get my collector set, which you need to let me know you want it so that I can package it for you, because they're physical items. Other than that, oh, yes, of course. Greg, thanks. Greg says he wants to post a live stream on the Moog fan club. Yeah, I do rely on my friends to help me pass the word around because, like Michelle was saying, it's a full-time job trying to manage the Moogseum. For me, it's a full-time job scheduling my guests, researching, doing tech tests with them, and making sure everything runs smoothly. And also, by the time I'm sending out promos for the live streams, I'm bound to miss something or someone. And I made some boo-boos already. I get a little confused because I'm not thinking about it. It's kind of like a side thought when I'm looking at the time zone. Like today, I went in a panic at 3:30 p.m. when I thought I told Michelle that I gave her the wrong time. For a moment there, I thought she was on Central Time, and I believed I told her it was going to be 8 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. And I panicked. But I was right, because she's on Eastern Time. So there you go. I do rely on all of you to help me share word of the live stream as well. Speaking of being in a panic, I have 7 people next week. Next week's live stream, we will have the performers from Moogfest 2007. I think I mentioned that earlier on as well. Moogfest 07 was the 4th edition held at BB King, and the last time that BB King held the festival. So the only 4 festivals of Moogfest held at BB King. Of course, BB King did close its doors in 2018, sadly. I'm a little, I must say, bummed about this because I can't return there for a visit. Oh well. Joining us will be Herb Deutsch again, Adam Holtzman, Eric Norlander, Neil Alexander, our good friend Tom Brislin. If you're still there, give us a little heart emoji. Dawn Preston, Jordan Rudess, and yours truly. So thanks, Gary, for your kind words. Thanks, Mike Flavin. Yes, Mike Flavin and Gary both got my CDs as Christmas present to themselves. Thank you so much. So, okay, I'm not going to jabber on any further, except to say take care, stay safe. You know what you have to do. Come by next Saturday to help me support the gang. I'm gonna do this a little differently. So far I've been Skyping. Next Saturday is gonna be a Zoom meet because there'll be 7 of us. So I'll see you next week then. Yes, it's a crazy lineup. Okay, so everyone take care. You guys are all awesome. And be good, okay? Tom's here. He's waving. See you next Saturday, Tom. Thomas. Okay, then. Oh, You guys can't stop chatting, so send this last comment up. Mike Flavin says my profile pic is Eric's Modular Moog. That's Eric Nolan, who will be here on Saturday along with Tom Brislin and the 5 people's names I just mentioned. Okay, so have a great week ahead. Stay safe and promise you come by on Saturday and bring your gang. Bring your peeps. Okay.